everybody, it's week 2 of Garden Club. Today we're going to plant microgreens. I'm very excited. Microgreens are so fun and so easy to grow. What we're going to do is we're going to plant little seeds and then we're just going to let them sprout for about 2 weeks. And then we cut them with scissors and they're little tiny sprouts and you can sprinkle them on salad or sandwiches. And you can grow microgreens out of a lot of different kinds of seeds. But one of the easiest ones is radishes. These are radishes in a seed patch. But you have some radishes in a little bag, and we're going to plant those right on the top of the soil in our pot. So let's get started. Okay, so the first step is we're going to fill the pot with soil. Okay, we're going to fill it almost to the top, and then we're going to make sure it's nice and moist. So pour some water in there. And we'll stir it around with our trowel. I'm going to add a little bit more soil so it goes right to the top. Now we're going to press it down a little bit and we're ready to plant. So grab your tablespoon. It's the biggest of the measuring spoons. And get about a tablespoon of seeds. And now we're going to sprinkle them on the top of our pot, so that there are lots of seeds, but they're just spaced out a little bit. Some of them can be overlapping on top of each other, but mostly we want them kind of right next to each other. You may not need your whole tablespoon. I don't think I do. Put those back and grow more microgreens another time. So kind of spread your seeds out a little so they're evenly spaced around the soil. It's okay if they're touching, but you don't want huge clumps. And then you don't want big empty spaces either. And then we're going to press them right down into the soil. But we're going to leave them on the surface. There we go, just like that. Let's get our mister, and we're going to mist them. You kind of have to hold the pot sideways to get the mister to work sometimes. It's really important that we keep these seeds really moist while they're trying to grow, at the very beginning especially. So for about the first 3 or 4 days, we're going to mist them twice. And these seeds need darkness to grow. Most seeds need to germinate or sprout in the dark, and radish seeds are like that. So we're not going to cover them with soil though, because that will make our microgreens kind of dirty and messy. Instead, what we're going to do is take our other pot and we're going to put it on top and make a little tent like this, and that's going to keep them nice and dark, and it's also going to keep the moisture in, keep it so that they stay moist and really want to sprout. And we can even spray the inside of our other pot a little bit to make sure it's very nice and moist and humid in there. And then in order to sprout, they also prefer slightly warmer temperatures. So you can put this in a sunny window where maybe it will get a little bit of warmth. So this is what we have for the first 3, 4, or 5 days. So that means that twice a day, morning and night, we're going to take this off. We're going to spray our microgreen seeds, our radish seeds, and we're going to put it back on morning and night. Then next week when we meet again, we can talk more about the microgreens and what's going to happen. But just in case yours are ahead of schedule, one day you're going to take it off and you're going to start to see that the seeds sprout. And you can check and see which part of the seed actually sprouts first. And when you see a little tiny green leaf starting to come out, you put the cover on and leave it 1 more day. And that lets your plants get a little bit stronger. And then we're going to take the cover off and then we're done with the cover. Because we found out last week that plants need light in order to photosynthesize and grow. So once they have a little leaf showing, we're going to put it in a sunny window. The sunnier the better, if possible. Now we have to water it a slightly different way. We don't really want to use our mister because it might get a little too humid in there. One really great way to water them is bottom watering. This is once the plants have started to actually grow with green leaves. So what we would do is we would take a little bit of water and we would put it in a little container that they're sitting in, and then we put the pot right in, and the pot soaks the water up from the bottom, so the plants get plenty of water without being watered from the top. And we can also do this in a little tiny tray. You just have to put water in more often. So that can work like that, in a tray like that. Or we can water them really carefully with a jar of water or a cup of water. This is later on, right? I'm just telling this to you in case yours germinate so fast that they sprout and their leaves are out before we even talk next week. And then in 2 weeks, these are going to be big enough for us to snip with scissors and taste, right? It's so fun to watch seeds germinate, and germinate means sprout. And inside each little seed is actually a curled up, teeny tiny baby plant with roots and its first little 2 leaves and everything. So they're just little tiny baby plants. There's everything inside there to grow a whole plant once it gets everything it needs, which is, of course, the water, the sun, the plant nutrients in the soil, and some warmth to keep them growing. We're also going to put a tag in here. So let's write radish, microgreens, and the date. Put our top on, put it on our little saucer plate, and put it in a warm spot. And then mist it twice a day. Okay, you're all set. Good job. Let's take a look at our project from last week. So last week we planted the scallions. How are yours doing? I'm going to take off my greenhouse tent now. I bet yours look a lot like mine, right? Look at all those new leaves and sprouts. Wow. Have they all grown at the same rate, or are some of them bigger or taller, or do some have more leaves coming out? They look to be doing well. How do they feel? Are they moist enough? As these start to get a little bit bigger, we can water them with the jar of water, a cup of water, a little watering can too, because they might start to need a little bit more than just a mister. And we can put them on top of a saucer also to catch any water that will come out, right? Scallions are really super great to have in the winter because they don't even mind the cold. Here's a bunch that I really actually have outside, completely outside. They've been growing right through the winter. So even though it's gotten really cold and icy and we've had a freeze or two, these are still doing okay. So you could actually take these scallions and put them outside, and they should survive okay as long as you make sure that they're getting water. So what kinds of things affect how our scallions and our microgreens are going to grow? You know, if you put these in a direct sunlight where they get a lot of sun all day long, things will grow a lot better. They'll be a darker green and they'll have much thicker stems. You can watch and see the differences of how things grow in different places. So if we had some scallions in a very dark window and some outside in the sun, well, the ones in the dark window would be kind of spindly and thin, and they'd be stretching up for the sun, but they'd be really skinny. And then the ones outside would be nice and thick and sturdy, but it's cold out there too, so how would that affect them? So lots to think about. Did you use your compost tea last week? How did that go? Did you put it on your scallions? I put mine on my scallions. It looks like it worked pretty well. Then I had a lot of extra, and so I put it on some other plants around the house and outside. I hope that your compost tea came out good and you didn't try to drink it, right? Now let's do a quick outdoor activity. Let's run outside and see if we can find some seeds. It's winter time, but there are lots of plants that have seeds that they've made in the summer or in the fall, and they're just waiting for the warm spring weather to germinate or sprout so that they can grow new baby trees and new flowers and new grass. So there are lots of seeds outside in the wintertime. They're hard to find though. Some of them are really, really small. Let's go outside and see if we can find some seeds. Here's some seeds right here in some old marigolds. Look, if we pick the flower and we open it up, oh my gosh, it's full of seeds. Look at all these seeds. Marigold seeds. I'm going to collect them. And right next to it is a flower vine that we had growing this summer. And it has these little balls hanging off of the vine. And if we open up the ball, it has a seed inside. Look at that. we could actually plant that and get another flower. Collect that one. This is a big beech tree in the yard. And beech trees make tons and tons of seeds so that they can grow new baby trees. So if we look down on the ground here, we ought to be able to find a whole bunch of beech seeds. And here they are. Look at all these seeds. The birds and squirrels love these in the winter. You can take those. I can't wait to see your pictures on Padlet of your microgreens and your scallions and how they're growing and the seeds that you found today. So we'll see you next week, okay? Bye.